to the Beachfront Bookworm. I am Tiffany. I'm so glad y'all found me again today. My channel is all about cozy mysteries and romance books, and today I'm doing my wrap up. So I get to talk about all the fun books I read in January, all the cozy mysteries, the good, the bad, and the DNFs. All right, so let me know what you read. What was your favorite? Did you DNF anything this month? What are you anticipating for next month? Anything else that you want to talk about down in the comments is the place to do it. On your way down to comment, please don't forget to stop, hit the subscription and the notification bell. Notification bell is going to tell you when I put out new videos each and every single week so you don't miss anything. And the subscription keeps my channel growing, and I'm on my way to a very, very big goal. So if you have not subscribed and you are on the fence, please, 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 support is free. All right, let's get into it. We're looking at all the cozies I read in January in 3, 2, 1, go! All right, so I'm gonna sneak in those weekly announcements, short, sweet, to the point. Let's go. On Wednesday is our normal reading sprints, 6 p.m. right here on this channel. They're more focused on reading, less on chatting. At least we try. We've been doing really good. I've made myself a goal to make sure that happens this year. On Fridays, we switch back and forth between my friend Storm at Storm Reads and my friend Lee at Dark Roots Creations channels. And they each host every other week, unless somebody has something going on, of course. So this weekend, this Friday night coming up, I think it will be on my friend Lee's channel, but you will probably hear about it in the Discord or Twitter or something when that is all said and done. Those are at 6 p.m. on Friday night. On Saturday, we have our live Killing Time with Cozies group. It's at noon every week. This week is our wedding themed scavenger hunt pick. So we don't do spoilers. We just come in and we talk about the wedding themed books that we read, what we rated it, and we give people ideas for new books that they might not know about. It's a lot of fun. Everybody's welcome. Come join us for that. Saturday night, this is new. It needs a flashing light. This is new. So last Saturday night, which would have been yesterday, our friend Mr. Francie from Mr. Francie Reads, who's amazing, hosted some reading sprints last night. They were so much fun. I really look forward to reading sprints when I don't have a lot going on between COVID and my husband is out of town. So I really look forward to the lives. I enjoy them and I get some reading done. So it's a win-win for me. He said he might make this a weekly thing. So Saturday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern, or as we've kind of coined it, Golden Girls time, we'll be meeting on his channel for reading sprints. So excited. What a jam-packed week. Somebody always has something going on. You can always find some great things to do. All right, let's get into it. My January wrap up. I'm going to start with a DNF. I only had one. This was so heartbreaking. And I'm actually being serious because I was really looking forward to this book. It is the first book in the Trouble in Paradise series. It Takes Two to Mango. It's an awesome cover. I was so looking forward to it because it's an island cozy mystery. The main character was so atrocious, so unlikable. I just had to DNF it. And I went and looked at Goodreads and everybody was like, the main character was horrible. So it wasn't, just me by any means, but they were all like, well, she had some, redeeming qualities in the end, and she changed a little bit throughout the book too, and I'm glad to hear that, but I just, at some point, I was over it. I don't want, even if it's seeing them grow, I'm glad again that she grew and changed some of those things, but I just don't want mean and unkind in my cozies, so I just wasn't comfortable with it, and it wasn't fun. I don't want to read about a mean character. I kind of read cozies for the opposite reason, so I just had to put it down, and I hope some more island cozies come my way because I was so excited about that one. All right, so now let's get into the other books. The first one that I read was A Whole Latte Murder. This is the third book in the Jive Cozy Mystery series, which is a coffee shop series. This is by Carolyn Fardig. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. So in this one, our main character, Juliet, her boyfriend, who is on the police force, has now been promoted into a homicide detective position. And a college girl goes missing in the area. And she has ties to it through the coffee shop that she works at. And unfortunately, the girl is then found dead. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this book. I enjoyed it. I did end up giving it 3 stars because I felt like there was way too much emphasis on Juliet's relationship with the boyfriend. And they didn't act like they liked each other at all, let alone wanted to be in a relationship with each other. They were not very kind to each other. They were not very caring to each other. And I was kind of rooting for them to break up, let alone, really invest in it. Get back to the mystery, get back to the cozy. That's what I'm there for. Again, I gave it 3 cups of coffee because I still enjoyed it overall. That was just something that took away from me from the book. It's really fun. The coffee aspect is a lot of fun in this book. I will definitely continue the series. Next up is Beachfront Bakery series. The first book is called Killer Cupcake. This was a brand new series for me. I did a lot of my brand new series this month thanks to Book and Bop's New Beginnings Readathon. If you have not checked out Book and Bop's, it is Zach and Casey. They are a married couple and they are wonderful. They do a lot of reading sprints themselves. I don't know their schedule, so I don't want to say it, but I think they do it on different days. So I really do think you can fill your week with reading sprints if you really wanted to. They are amazing. They did a New Beginnings Readathon, as I mentioned, and one of the prompts was you could get 2 points for reading a new series or a new author. Well, I owe it all to Casey and Zach. Thank you for allowing me to start new books. It was like I had to do it. So I did. This was such a great book. I gave it 5 stars. So the main character, this was really an interesting book because a lot of times in cozy mysteries, there's been a fallout and the main character is coming home to a small town. You hear about, they lost their job and their boyfriend or fiance or whoever it was cheated on them, or they broke up, or whatever the case. There was some other problems going on. And in this one, we actually saw the disintegration happen in front of our eyes. But it was done in such a good way. It was so humorous. You felt for her, but you were still able to laugh at it. She ends up renting this little shop on the beach to make pastries. I loved everything about this book. Y'all know that I love a good boardwalk. And it was like beachfront, but it was still like a lot of those things. So there was, a fortune teller, and there was 2 brothers that both owned pizza shops on like either side of her, but they didn't speak to each other. They were fighting. So she was in the middle, and just quirky little things. I couldn't have enjoyed it more. It was so fun. Again, 5 huge cups of coffee. Loved it. Can't wait to get to the next one, which I've already downloaded it. So the next book I read was Murder at Redwood Cove. This is the first book, again, thanks Zach and Casey, of the Kelly Jackson Cozy Mystery series by Janet Finn Silver. So in this one, our main character got a job managing a new bed and breakfast on the coast of Northern California. And she gets this job because the previous manager was killed. I really enjoyed this series. There are a group of elderly people who call themselves, this is so amazing, the Silver Centennials, and they are fabulous. They're always on the case, and they are up for anything. They're great. They're sassy. They are fierce, and I love them. This book also had a festival going on. Y'all know these are all my buzzwords, so I loved it. I gave it 4 big cups of coffee. The only reason I did not give it 5 cups of coffee, and this is just a preference, and I didn't really know this about myself until I started thinking about this particular book when I finished. So when this book starts, the murder's already happened. And I don't care for that as much. I like to meet the victim They're usually very unlikable, but then I get to feel that myself. Because otherwise, when they're just gone already, I don't feel that like, I don't know, I felt more sympathetic for this victim than I would for other victims. Not that I think anybody deserves to be killed, whether they're unkind or not. That's not what I'm saying. But when you see them be selfish and unkind and hateful to people, and you kind of are like, oh, okay. Again, I'm not saying that that means that they should deserve to die, but this is fiction. But in this one, I didn't feel that. I was just like, oh my gosh, this man was murdered, because I didn't get to see the stuff about him that was like, oh, okay, that's why there's so many suspects, because he did this, this, and this. I just didn't feel as connected to it. So I gave it 4 cups of coffee. Can't wait to read the next one. I'm telling you, B&B's, the Silver Centennials, there was a festival. I am in for this series. Next up, I read Asking for Truffle. This is the first book in the Southern Chocolate Shop mystery series by Dorothy St. James. So our main character, Charity, who goes by Penn as what she prefers to be called, her last name is Penn. She wins this trip for free cooking lessons at this chocolate shop. And she's like, she thinks it's a scam. She's not sure what's going on. So she sends her friend to check into it. He's willing to do so, and he ends up murdered. So she doesn't know that. She just realizes that she's trying to contact him to see what is going on. He left her this message that was very, what's the word? Mysterious. He's like, you got to come. You'll never believe what's happened. And then at the end of the message, you hear somebody, and he's like, hey, what are you doing here? And then the message ends, and then she can't get a hold of him. So she goes and then finds out that he was murdered. I really wanted to love this because it's a chocolate shop, and I just like the location. It's in South Carolina. It's a seaside chocolate shop. And I'm going to read number 2. I gave this 3 cups of coffee. So when I say I wanted to love this, I still really liked it. Gave it 3 cups of coffee. There was just something that always felt like the author was going to tell you and then would pull back. And then they were like, going to reveal it finally, and then they'd pull back. And I was just like, okay, tell me or don't, but stop holding it over my head, because that frustrated me. There was also something about this that, like, I don't know, it just felt like I didn't get the whole picture, even as I finished the book. I'm going to check out number 2 because I bet that would fill in the pieces. The next book I read was Hitches, Hideouts, and Homicides. This is book 7 in the Campers and Criminals series. So this is by Tanya Kappas. And in this one, our main character, Mae West, not related, she is helping out there's going to be a hoedown at the old train station, and they're there, everybody's having a good time, which this was a fun book for me because a hoedown, yes, take me there. I was so excited, and it didn't disappoint. It was so much fun. The lights go out, somebody ends up dead, and it's somebody that worked there. They were a horse trainer. But this book had everything. So it didn't stop there. There was another murder. There was robberies. There was stuff being stolen. This was a pretty crazy book, and I loved every bit of it. I love this series. There's a group of ladies in this series called the Laundry Club, which really they just get together and gossip, but then every once in a while try to solve some crimes. I love it. 5 huge cups of coffee. I love this series. It's so much fun. Next up, I read A Side of Murder. This is the first book in the Cape Cod Foodie Cozy Mystery series by Amy Pershing. So in this one, our main character is Samantha. She's newly divorced. She's newly jobless. She moves back to her hometown in the Cape Cod, where she inherited a house from her great aunt. And she just got a job doing restaurant reviews. So that is fun. I was really excited about the restaurant reviews. That's such a cool premise. I gave this 3 cups of coffee. Can't wait to see where the series goes. I enjoyed it. I'll be continuing it. Next up was one of my favorite reads of the month. It was This Pin for Hire right here. This is the first book in the Jaine Austen Cozy Mystery series, Jaine spelled with an I, by Laura Levine. Oh my gosh, this was laugh out loud funny. This in a lot of ways reminded me of the Stephanie Plum series. I mean, obviously without like cars blowing up and bounty hunting, but just the humor in it was, oh my gosh, so funny. Laugh out loud funny. I laughed from beginning to end. This was 5 huge cups of coffee. One of my, like I said, favorites of the month. So our main character, Jaine, so she's a writer for hire. And she agrees to write this love letter to try to get a date for this lovable but geeky Howard. The letter is to this gorgeous aerobics instructor that he wants a date with. He's never met this woman. This is love from afar. And Jaine's like, oh boy, here we go. But he lands a date. Yeah. So success until he finds the date, the aerobics instructor, Stacy, bludgeoned to death with a thigh master. This book, I'm not kidding. I laughed from beginning to end. I can't say enough about it. I've already read number 2. I gave it 5 cups of coffee. You'll hear about it though next month. Oh, so good. I am loving this series. The next book I read was Dying for Strawberries, another favorite of the month. This is the first book in the Berry Basket series by Sharon Farrow. Oh my gosh, this was so amazing. Our main character, Marley, owns a shop, a specialty store, all things berry. So berry candles, berry muffins, berry smoothies, berry margaritas, lip balm, whatever you can think of in berry form, she sells it. I have a thing for specialty shops like that and for like jams and jellies, and she does that too. And I loved everything about this. Her fiance runs a fruit orchard, which is right up my alley as well. In this particular book, there's going to be a full moon festival or so what do they call it? Strawberry Moon Festival. Berry basket. Okay. Strawberry Moon Festival. And one of her friends is in a marriage where, trigger warning, there is some DV in this book, and it happens off page, but they do describe it. So keep that in mind. It's very brief, but I just want to point it out. Her husband and her have another public fight, and she goes missing, her friend Natasha. So in the midst of Natasha being missing, there's this town meeting, and Natasha's husband, who's also a businessman, reveals at this town meeting that he owns like all of the real estate in one part of the town where the Berry Basket shop is. And he's going to basically up people's rents or kick them out. Not everybody, but certainly Marley, because he is not happy with Marley because she's always helping and encouraging Natasha, his wife, who he is often abusive towards, to leave him. Again, I gave this 5 cups of coffee, but the book was so amazing. And that wasn't the focus. I mean, the focus is on the Berry Basket, and that's what we're going to be going, forward, of course. Up next, I read Burden of Poof. This is the first book in the Bonnie and Clyde series by Julianne Lindsay. So in this one, our main character, Bonnie, she owns the Second Chance dress shop called Bless Her Heart. She has a cat named Clyde, which is where the Clyde comes in. And in this, there is a grouchy lady that turns up dead in the donations pile, and Bonnie has to figure out what is going on. I loved it. The setting, the shop, the town, it takes place in Bliss, Georgia. The characters, there is something to me about the small town and all the gossip, and I just love it. I'm glad it's fiction. I don't want it in my real life, but it is so much fun in my fictional world. I can't wait to read the second one. Next up, I read Pain and Suffering. This is the first book in the Webb's Glass Cozy Mystery series. This is by Cheryl Holland. I gave this 3 cups of coffee. It was an interesting premise, but I just wasn't that interested once I got started reading it. I guess I thought it would be more like stained glass, and I don't know. It takes place in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is seriously like St. Pete's like 10 minutes from me. Maybe not even that. I don't know. I just didn't connect with it the way I thought I would. I still gave it 3 cups of coffee. I'll probably check out the second one, but I think it was more just the premise. I thought it sounded interesting, but I mean, I liked learning about like the glasswork, but at the same time, it just didn't hold my interest for a whole book, and I don't know about for a whole series, but we will see. I still recommend you really trying it, especially if you like specialty type of things like that, because 3 cups of coffee, for one, is a great rating, and 2, my loves and your loves might be completely different. All right, next up, Tempest in the Tea Leaves, right here. This is the first book in the Fortune Teller Cozy Mystery series by Carrie Lee Townsend. I love this. I gave it 4 cups of coffee. I was looking for a good fortune teller, psychic, cozy mystery series. I like light paranormal, and I like this type of paranormal where it's not like vampires and stuff like that, but just fun, like fortune telling. She reads tarot cards, tea leaves, all sorts of things. Our main character, Sunny, she is from a very well-to-do family, and her family is all going, oh Lord, she's changed her name to Sunny. She's the whole bit. And she sees in these tea leaves that this librarian who had come to see her is going to be murdered by someone. So she goes to the cops and she's like, I need to report a murder. And they're like, oh my gosh, what, and she's like, well, it hasn't happened yet. And they're like, oh gosh, the crazy lady. So then when it happens, they still don't believe her. They think that she might be involved. She has a cat named Morty. I loved it. I gave it 4 cups of coffee. The only reason I did not give it 5 cups of coffee is because the ending was, to me, way over the top. I can suspend a little disbelief, but not to the extent that the ending happened in this book. But because I loved so much of the other stuff about it, I am definitely checking out book number 2. And still, 4 big cups of coffee. Next up, I read my first middle grade. Well, my first middle grade since probably being a middle grader. It is Eddie Whatever. So our main character, Eddie, he is 13. He's going to be having his bar mitzvah, and he has to do a project like volunteer work. And so his mom sets him up to do volunteer work at the Silverbrook retirement home. And at first he's like, ugh, I don't want to hang out with old people. Ugh. Like any 13-year-old. Most 13-year-olds, I shouldn't say any, most. But he ends up really being great with these elderly people, and they love him. And there's a lot going on in the retirement home. There's mystery, things being lost and stolen. And it's really easy to write off like, oh, they're just senile, so they can't remember what happened to their diamond ring. No, it was taken, and Eddie's on the case. I thought this was so cute. I gave it 4 cups of coffee. I can't wait to read it more middle grade. Next up, I read Death in Bloom. This is the first book in the Flower House Cozy Mystery series. So our main character, Sierra, she works at the Flower House. This takes place in Tennessee, which I love Tennessee for a setting. I gave it 3 cups of coffee. I enjoyed it. I'll read book number 2, but it wasn't that memorable as opposed to like my other books that I read during this month. I had to go back to look over the synopsis to be able to talk about it for this wrap up, which should tell you, but partly is my memory. So still give it 3 cups of coffee, still enjoyed it. We'll go on to number 2. Next up, I read Moving is Murder. This is the first book in the Mom Zone Cozy Mystery series by Sarah Rosette. I give this 3 cups of coffee. It is exactly what I should have known it was going to be. I don't think I'll continue it. The writing was great. The mystery was great. I just should have known that a Mom Zone was going to be about being a mom. And there was a lot of, stuff like the mom venting about things that happen being a mom. And I want her to be able to do that. And I'm sure that there is an audience that would be like, oh my gosh, I can totally relate to that, but not me. So that's the reason I probably won't be continuing it. Other than that, I plan on trying other series by Sarah Rosette, and this one was very well done. Next up, I read Starboard Secrets. This is the first book in the Millie's Cruise Ship series by Hope Callahan. And oh my gosh, this was such a fun cozy. I am so glad I tried it. I cannot wait for the next one. This is a KU series. Our main character, Millie, her husband leaves her after like 35 years of marriage. They've been together quite a while. And he was a private investigator, and I think he leaves her for the woman that he was like doing a job for or something like that. And Millie just wants a change. She's like, this is bananas. So she applies pretty spontaneously for a job as an assistant cruise ship recreation person. I would do this myself. I can totally relate to wanting to, I think that would be an amazing, amazing job. I would have so much fun with that. So I was totally hooked from the very beginning. She kind of fancies herself a detective because she's been married to a private detective for years. So when a murder happens on board, Millie's on the case. Loved it. 4 huge cups of coffee. Cannot wait to continue this series or try more of Hope Callahan. Next up, I read Pick Your Poison. This is by Leanne Sweeney. It's the first book in the Yellow Rose mystery series. This would have been a DNF, but I was too close to the end to really give up. I enjoyed the first part of this. I was a little sad because I enjoyed the first part of this book. It went very much downhill, and part of it was just some offensive stuff I felt was offensive. Give it a shot if you want to. Whether you find it offensive or not, it means no bearing on how I feel about it. If you enjoy it, great. I don't even know what I would rate this because honestly, I probably would have DNF'd it again, except I was so close to the end. Next up, I read Game of Cones. I was putting an S on there. This is the 4th book in the Lickety Splits Ice Cream Shop series by Cynthia Baxter. Love this series. Oh my gosh. So our main character, Kate, is going to do these ice cream demonstrations at the Mohawk Mountain Resort. Now, y'all know a mountain resort I was in. And this became like a closed circle sort of mystery because as Kate and her boyfriend Jacob are traveling to the mountain, a tree falls right behind them. Like they hear this huge noise and they're like, oh my gosh, has there been a, sinkhole? What has happened? And a big tree has fallen across the road where there's no way to get out or to get in. And therefore, this mystery becomes a closed circle mystery. I thought this was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. I've loved this series anyways, and this was a really, really good addition. I loved the characters that were in this one. It was so good. So good. 4 cups of coffee. I don't know why I gave it 4 cups of coffee. Right as I'm talking about it, I'm going to up it to 5 because I don't even know why I would have taken a star off. So there you go. 5 cups of coffee. Up, I read Pillow Stock right here. This is the first book in the Mad for Maud Cozy Mystery series. So in this one, our main character is an interior designer. She's obsessed with Doris Day and kind of that period. Oh, this is by Diane Valor. I really, really enjoyed this, but the mystery of it kind of went a little off the rails. Like it was, again, I can suspend some disbelief, but kind of some of the things that were revealed and happened, I was just like, I can't get behind that. That would really happen. I gave it 3 cups of coffee. I'm still going to read the next one because I love that there was the interior design piece. I love that she was into like that era. That was really, really fun and very different. And the fact that she's into Doris Day and the way she dresses, it was just, I really enjoyed all of that. So for me, this particular one was just about the mystery. So I definitely will be continuing. So the next book, y'all, this is bananas. This was wild. The craziest cozy I have ever read. It is called The Deep End. This is the first book in the Country Club Murder series by Julie Mulhern. It was wild. Even as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow. Okay, so I don't really want to give much of a synopsis. Here's what I'm going to say. Our main character, Ellison, her and her husband and her family are very well-to-do. This takes place in the early 1970s, which was fabulous. And they belong to like a pristine country club. That's all I'm going to say about it. I gave it 4 cups of coffee. I I give it 4 cups of coffee on the 1970s and the country club aspect of it. But some of the stuff in this book was shenanigans. Like, I was like, wow, that's in a cozy. So I don't think that will continue in this series. And I've known people who have read other books in this series, and they say that they don't, that the things that happen in this book are pretty out there and not necessarily part of the other books. So I will definitely be continuing. So go in with this one knowing you've been warned, but have a good time with it. Next up, I read Buried Motives. This is the 6th book in the Cranberry Cove series, which was on my SAS list last year, but I could not find book number 6 in audio form. So I got it, and I am now caught up. So check 1 off my SAS list. I have not done very well with my SAS list for 2022. Well, for the KU part I have, but not for the just regular SAS list. But that was because I read so many new books in the name of Zach and Casey's readathon. So now, I'm just making excuses. But now, after this month, I'll be able to really set into some of those SAS lists. So I'll get there. All right, so this one, our main character is Monica. She works on her brother's cranberry farm. I forgot what book I was talking about. And a TV crew comes to film a spot for the news about his farm. They're also going to film the farm store and whatnot. And the star of the TV show ends up dead. 4 cups of coffee. I love this series. So much fun. I told you I was really into farms. This one is, I really, really enjoy that series. Next up, I read Crime and Punctuation. This is the first book in the Deadly Edits series by Caitlin Dunnett. So in this one, our main character is widowed, and she starts taking some jobs as a freelance editor. And this woman comes to her, knocks on the door, doesn't contact her anyway, like goes up, knocks on the door, and hands her this manuscript and was like, please, will you edit this? That woman ends up dead, and Mickey doesn't really believe that it was an accident. Our main character is named Mickey, and Mickey doesn't believe it was an accident. She thinks that there was some foul play going on, so she's gonna figure out what it was. I get 3 cups of coffee. I'll probably read number 2, but I wasn't that interested in the edits part of this, if I'm being honest. Again, personal preference, nothing wrong with the book. Next up, I read If You've Got It, Haunt It. This is the first book in the Haunted Vintage mystery series by Rose Pressey, and I loved it. Oh my gosh. 5 cups of coffee. So our main character, Cookie Chanel, she has a vintage clothing boutique, and she goes to estate sales to get her inventory a lot of times. She goes to this estate sale, and the ghost of the woman's estate sale starts talking to her, and she just thinks that she's another person there. And then she says something to somebody else, and she realizes that nobody else can see or hear this woman. Turns out it is Charlotte. Charlotte was a socialite, and she is the person whose inventory and estate that Cookie Chanel is shopping at. And she wants Cookie to help her solve her crime when she realizes that Cookie can see and hear her. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I gave this 5 cups of coffee, and I cannot wait. Another one of my favorites. I think I had 3 favorites this month. This was one of them. Oh, it was so, so good. And so our main character's best friend has been like a psychic and can talk to like dead people and see ghosts and everything. So when Charlotte happens, Cookie's like, oh my gosh, please tell this ghost. And her friend like fesses. She's like, yeah, that's all fake. I can't. And Cookie's like, what? It was so funny. Oh gosh, this was such a fun read. I loved it. The last book that I read this month, well, I read 3 more, but they were blind dates. So you'll hear about that in my blind date wrap up. This one is, I thought I read it in February, but I didn't. It is the 2nd book in the Jaine Austen Cozy Mystery series, Jane spelled with an I. It is called Last Rites. Again, another 5-star, absolutely great read. So Jane is helping with this Hollywood sitcom. So her friend got a job writing on this sitcom. Jane's helping as well. And there is a star on this sitcom named Quinn who turns out was really having a relationship with everybody. He was really having a relationship behind everybody's back with every single person, except for Jaine. But he did flirt with Jaine and kind of act like he was into her. So I think he was going there before he gets kind of whacked. Not kind of whacked, he gets whacked. So Jaine's trying to figure out what is going on. Again, laugh out loud funny. Love everything about this series. This humor is so up my alley. Love it. 5 huge cups of coffee. All right, everyone. Hope to hear what your favorite book is. Give me a big thumbs up for this video. And until next time, may all your future reads be 5 stars. Bye, everybody.